What's going on, guys? LonePC here. In today's video, I'm going to show you guys what I use to record all my gameplays. Now, I record at 1080p 60 frames per second using OBS Studio. First thing I'm going to have you guys do is go to obsproject.com, and there will be the link in the description below, and download OBS Studio. Now keep in mind that this is what I use for my current setup. Your setup might be different, so your settings might be different. You're going to have to adjust accordingly, depending. You might want to turn them up, you might want to turn them down a bit. So once you have it downloaded, go ahead and open it up. And it's going to look something like this, minus my looping screen because I'm recording my monitor at the moment. Your sources box is going to be completely empty. You're going to have to add your own sources. But before we get into that, let's go to settings in the bottom right. From here, your theme's probably white by default. You can change it here to dark if you'd like. I like it dark because it's easier for me to read and pick out certain options that I want to choose. Everything else in here, you're going to want to keep the same. Make sure source alignment snapping is enabled. You don't have to have it enabled, but it's a lot easier if you want to add multiple things to your screen. Keep it at 10. For stream, we're going to not be looking at this tab so much because we're recording to our local hard drive, but if you'd want to stream something, you can choose what service you want to stream to, and the server, and the stream key, and you would just apply and hit OK. Output. This is your streaming tab, but we're not going to be focusing on this. I might do a separate video for streaming, but this is where you would input all your streaming settings here. Recording. This is one of the big areas that we're going to be focusing on the screen here. Because we are recording to our local hard drive. And you can choose where you want to record to right here in recording path. You just simply click browse, choose the folder and drive in which you want to store your project or your movie, and hit OK. You can also choose the recording format. I use MP4. I don't recommend you use anything else. You can also record different audio tracks. I highly recommend that you only tick one like I have here. All my things are grayed out because I'm currently using OBS Studio to record this video. So keep type standard, choose your recording path. Recording format is MP4. Audio track, have just the one ticked. Now for NVIDIA users, your encoder is going to be NVENC H.264. Now this is what I use because I do have an NVIDIA graphics card. I'd recommend you guys using this if you have a 770 or higher. If you have anything below that, you can use it, but you're going to lose some quality. It's going to lag a little bit. You might be better off just using the traditional 264 encoder with your CPU instead. So the NVENC uses your graphics card to encode the video rather than your CPU. It lets your processor do its thing without being stressed by encoding your video while you're playing a game. So rescale output needs to be ticked, and it needs to be 1920 by 1080p to have 1080p video at recording. Custom mixer settings I leave blank. Rate control, now this is important too. You can use CBR for constant bitrate or CQP. I use CQP at 20. Now the higher you go, typically it's between 18 and 25. The higher you go, the less quality the video becomes. The lower you go, the higher quality it becomes. But the lower you go, the more stress it puts on your graphics card. So I recommend somewhere between 18 and 20 is where I like to stay. 20 is the sweet spot for my PC, so that's where I have that. Keyframe interval is going to be 0. Preset. You'd be surprised how much this actually impacts your recording. I keep my preset at high performance. You can have high quality if you have an NVIDIA 780 or above, but I notice that when I do it, it starts to lag in my recording, and so I keep it at high performance. Profile I keep to high. Level I keep at audio, GPU 0. B-frames 2. So this is what I have for my recording tab. Copy this and adjust the CQP number accordingly. And that should be about it. Untick the use 2-pass encoding. There's no reason for you to encode with 2-pass at all. It adds more stress, and there's no need for it whatsoever. You can do test recordings with it on and off, and you're not going to notice a difference. All it's going to do is take away from your recording quality, and it'll probably make it lag a little bit. So just untick that as well. So let's go ahead and move into audio. Track 1, you can change all your tracks to 320 if you're really worried about it. I did my first two to 320 for my bit rate. Because I have track 1 and track 2 because sometimes I record with my girlfriend and we have different audio tracks going through, and 320 is going to be the highest you're able to set it to, and that's going to be perfect sound quality. Let's go to the audio tab here. Sample rate, put it as high as you can. Channels, keep it in stereo. Choose your desktop audio device. In my case, it's my speakers. If you have multiple devices, go ahead and add them. Your microphone auxiliary, this is my mic right here. I use a VB voice mixer, so that's why it's going to look a little weird to you. It's not going to say, you know, Blue Yeti microphone. It's going to say this because that's what I put my microphone through. You can add push to talk if you'd like here. Not too important. You guys can adjust that if you'd want. Video output is currently active. Yes, I'm using this to record right now, but your video, your base is going to be 1920 by 1080. Your output scale is going to be 1920 by 1080 to keep it at 1080p. Downscale filter, you're going to want to keep it at 32 samples for sharpened scaling. It's going to be set to 16 by default, but 32 is going to make it nice and sharp and crisp and give you that in-game look as if you weren't even recording at all. You're going to notice very little pixelation, if any at all. And FPS rather, you're going to want to keep at 60. You can drop it down to 30 if you'd like, but right now we're talking about 1080p 60 frames per second. So I'd keep that at 60. Here in hotkeys, the only thing that I did was start and stop recording. I use insert to start recording and end button to stop. In the advanced tab, I don't think I changed anything in here whatsoever. I kept everything the same. Process priority, if your CPU can handle it, you can go ahead and bump this up to above normal or high, but normal seems to work just fine for me. And that's it for the settings. Now let's move on to the sources here. Now you can see I have display capture and game capture here. To add something, simply right click the area here, go to add, and you can add all sorts of things, whether it's your window capture if you want to record a specific window on your desktop, a video capture device if you have a webcam, a scene to add a completely different scene so you can swap between scenes seamlessly, or you can add just an image, a slideshow. Right now I have a display capture which captures your monitor, and you can choose between any monitor you have. If you have 3 monitors, it'll list them all. You can go between the 2 or 3. And you can add game capture if you want to just strictly capture a game. So I have both options here. I have game capture and display capture because sometimes games are finicky, and if you have it set to full screen, it won't allow you to display capture. It won't allow you to capture it via your monitor, and you're going to have to sometimes use game capture if that's the case. So that's why I have both here, just in case. Typically, I stick with display capture because it ends up being a smaller file size. Sometimes when you have game capture enabled and you're capturing, let's say, Fallout 4, which is a good example, or Left 4 Dead 2, it'll capture the game, but it'll capture not only what's being displayed on your screen, but everything involved in the video encoding and decoding of the game. So it's gonna be a more stress on your GPU, and it's gonna be a bigger file size. So typically I like to stick to display capture, but game capture is here for you to use as well. Now to add the game, right click and go to properties after you add it. And for OBS Studio, you're going to want the mode to be capture any full screen application. So any full screen game that you have, this is going to capture it. Okay, keep everything else just the way I have it. Make sure you capture your mouse cursor if you play a lot of RPG style, like dungeon crawling games like me. For display capture, which is what I use the most, I have my monitor 1 captured here, and capture cursor enabled as well. To change displays that you want to capture, you can simply change them like that. And let's see, I think that's going to be it. You can add different scenes here. You can switch between the two as you're recording. You can set the hotkeys up to do that sort of thing. But I think that's it, guys. That's what I use to record my gameplays. If you have any questions or comments, let me know. If you enjoyed, hit the like button below. Subscribe if you have not. Stay tuned for more, and I hope this helped you guys out. Take care.